guys. Oh, you guys okay? Yeah? Awesome. Me? Oh, right, yeah, well, see, it's raining today, so I can't go outside to do my exercise. So I decided today what I would do is I would just do some laps and run around the kitchen table, just to get some exercise. And that's when you guys were like, hey, G! So then I was like, hey, guys, you okay? And then we had this conversation. That's where we are now. And you know, it's really funny, because would you believe, for the 3rd week in a row, the thing that I was doing when you guys came along reminds me of today's Bible story. I know, right? Get out. Crazy. Anyway, today's story is all about, do you remember? Joseph. That's right. Now last week, Joseph, well, he had a rough week last week, didn't he? Let's take a quick recap and find out what happened. Last week, Jacob sent Joseph to a place called Shechem to find his brothers. His brothers weren't there. They were in Dothan. So Joseph went to Dothan. As he was going to Dothan, his brothers saw him come in. They decided to try and kill him. The oldest brother, Reuben, said, let's not kill him, let's just throw him down a well. While Joseph was down the well, Judah, one of his other brothers, saw some traders come in towards them. So they decided to sell Joseph to the traders. Reuben came back, saw that Joseph was gone, and then had to go home and tell Jacob that Joseph was dead. This week, we find Joseph in Egypt. And the traders have come along and they've sold him to a man called Potiphar. Potiphar was Pharaoh's captain of the guard, which meant he was one of the top guys in security. He was a top cop. Remember last week how we talked about being in the wrong place? Well, Joseph was in the right place with God. And because Joseph was in the right place with God, everything, even though it was a bad situation, was actually working out really well for Joseph. Okay, his brothers had thrown him down a well and he'd been sold, and now he was working for this guy who he'd never really met up until this point. But you know what? Because Joseph and God were really close and Joseph was in the right place with God, Joseph did a really, really good job in everything that he did. And because Joseph did a good job, because he wanted to please God, Potiphar took notice. He would see that Joseph was doing really good things. So maybe some of his other servants would polish the cutlery and it would kind of be okay, but it wouldn't have that ping. Joseph, when he polished it, it would ping all over the place. Or maybe if some of his other servants were washing some clothes and they wouldn't get the stains out, Joseph would take that little bit extra time and do the job right. Joseph didn't cut any corners. He would make sure that whatever job he was doing was the best job that could be done. And Potiphar took notice. Potiphar liked the way that Joseph did things. Potiphar was so impressed with Joseph and his work that he put him in charge of the whole house. But there was a bit of a problem. You see, Joseph was a very handsome man. I know how he feels. It's a hard life. And Potiphar's wife, she kind of fancied him. So every chance she would get, she would try and hang out with Joseph. And she'd be talking to him all the time. And she'd be trying to give him sneaky little touches and sneaky little kisses. If she had a mobile phone, she'd have been texting him and FaceTiming him all the time. And it got really irritating. And day after day after day, she would bother Joseph. And Joseph would say to her, look, you need to leave me alone. You are my master's wife. And one day, when nobody else was in the house, she went to Joseph and tried to give him a sneaky little touch. And Joseph turned around and said, whoa, what are you doing? Leave me alone. And Joseph was so annoyed that he just ran out of the house. But he left his coat behind. And when she saw his coat, she decided to do something really, really mean to Joseph. So she went to her husband with the coat and she said, "Do you know what? Joseph has been bugging me all the time. He's been touching me and trying to kiss me and texting me and FaceTiming me. And I keep telling him no, but he won't leave me alone. You need to get rid of Joseph." You know, Potiphar was really, really angry. You see, his wife had told him a lie. But Potiphar didn't know it was a lie and he thought she was being honest. And he got really mad. He got so mad that he took Joseph and he threw him in jail. But not just any jail. He threw him in a jail that the Pharaoh's prisoners would go to. And that's where Joseph ended up. And next week, we'll find out what happens while Joseph was in jail. Wow. Things are not going well for Joseph, are they? And every time things look like they're looking up, something bad happens. I mean, we're only 3 weeks in, and already his brothers hate him. They thought about killing him. They threw him down a well. They sold him to some traders. He got a really good job. His master, Potiphar, really liked him because he did a really good job. And then Potiphar's wife lied about him, and now he's in jail. And really, so far, Joseph hasn't really done anything wrong. And in this story, Joseph did the right thing, didn't he? Because Potiphar's wife was trying to make him do something that he knew he shouldn't do. So he said no. And in the end, he got so fed up with saying no, he just ran away from her. Joseph did the right thing. But you know, Joseph still got in trouble because other people didn't do the right thing. Potiphar's wife lied to Potiphar. And as far as we know, Potiphar didn't even try to find out the truth. He just threw Joseph in jail. And you know, sometimes in our lives, people will try to make us do things that we know are wrong. And in those moments, if we know something is wrong, we need to say no. But that isn't always easy, is it? It's not always easy to say no to things that you know are wrong, especially if all your friends are doing it. Maybe all your friends are telling lies, or maybe all your friends are throwing rocks at someone's house or something like that. And they're saying, "Come on, join in, it's fun, it'll be fine." And you're saying, "Oh, I don't know, I don't think this is right. I don't think God would be okay with me doing this." It's a really hard thing in those situations to say, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm walking away." And you know, the Bible tells us that if we are in the right place with God, God will help us to say no when we need to say no. Even if everybody else is saying yes, we can still say no. But what happens if it's not something other people are asking us to do? What if it's something that we want to do that we know is wrong, but we still really want to do it? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Maybe someone in your house has made, I don't know, a cherry pie. I love cherry pie. And they say, "Don't touch it, it's really hot. We can have some later." And you're looking at this cherry pie and it looks so yummy and it smells so good. Getting hungry just thinking about it. And you think, do you know what? Maybe if I just take a little bit, nobody will notice. But then there's that little voice in the back of your mind, yeah, that says, actually, that's wrong. And you know it's wrong, but you still really want to take a bit of cherry pie. What do you do then? Well, you know, I think Joseph told us the answer, didn't he? What did Joseph do when no didn't work? That's right. He ran away. He said, "I'm not doing this. I'm just getting myself out of the situation." So if we're looking at this cherry pie and we know we're going to take it, the best thing to do is to walk away from the cherry pie. But then it's really hard, isn't it, to get away from our thoughts? Because we could still be thinking about the cherry pie and being like, "It's only downstairs. Ooh, And we can't really run away from our thoughts, can we? Well, you know, the Bible tells us that if we pray, if we say to Jesus, Jesus, I'm having these thoughts. They keep popping up in my head all the time. I can't get away from them. Please, please help me. You know, the Bible tells us that Jesus will come and he will help us to say no. He will help to get rid of those thoughts. He will help us to live a life that is good and honest and pleasing to God. So guys, this week, when you're in situations where people are telling you to do things you know are wrong, you can ask God for the courage to say no. Or maybe someone's told you to do something or not to do something, and you know what's right and you know what's wrong, but you really want to do the wrong thing. You know, we can ask God to help us. Or maybe you're having thoughts and you can't get away from these thoughts. They keep going round in your head like a bad tune. You know, we can ask God to help us to get rid of those thoughts. Or even we can ask God to help us deal with those thoughts. And you know what? The Bible tells us that God will always come and help us out. Well guys, that's it for another week of Hope Kidz Online. Thank you so much for joining us and watching today's episode. Now, you may have noticed there's no craft this week, so I'm really sorry about that. But if you've done anything this week that you want to show off a little bit, or that you're really proud of, maybe a drawing, or you've made something, or you're just really happy with something you want to tell us about, send in some photos and share that with us. We'll feature them in next week's episode. Now, next week, we are going to see Pharaoh. Do you remember who Pharaoh is? That's right. Pharaoh was the king of Egypt. And I want you to pick who Pharaoh is going to be. Homer Simpson, Scooby-Doo, or Batman? Let me know by messaging me on social media or leaving a comment on the YouTube video. Guys, thank you again so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next week for another Hope Kidz Online. Potiphar was so impressed with Joseph. He was impressed with Joseph, because that's his name. And he threw him in a jail that was... And then Potiphar. And we're just looking at it, and there's drool going down our face, and we're like, cherry pie, cherry pie. Joseph was now looking after the whole household. He was basically Carson from Downton Abbey. If you've never watched Downton Abbey, which you probably haven't, then don't worry about it. And the traders have taken him and they've sold him as a slave. Sold him. They have sold him. Sold him. Sold him. Start again. Okay.